Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video. Welcome back to Monster Hunter Rise, and today, following up with my Insect Glaive guide, I figured that I would bring you an Insect Glaive build. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I am actually dirt poor right now in Monster Hunter Rise because I've spent so much money upgrading so many different armor pieces, trying to come up with a build that I was like, okay, this one feels good. Because for some reason, none of the builds, none of the Insect Glaives that I craft actually felt good until I finally put this build together. And this is not like a super original build. As a matter of fact, I feel like this build can be used on almost any weapon that does not have any hard skill requirements, like, say, a gun lance with artillery or something like that. You know, any weapon like a sword and shield could use this build, no problem. Dual blades could probably use this build, no problem. This is a build that feels very generic, but at the same time, I felt like it was very fun, and it took advantage of one of the features of the Insect Glaive that I actually found out through your comments after my Insect Glaive guide. I was not aware of the fact that certain Kinsects would actually have the same element as your weapon, because I don't really think that the game does a particularly good job of explaining that to you, but you know, it is what it is, and it's always good to basically get that feedback in those videos, because that is what kind of keeps those videos alive longer. It's not just the video itself that tells everybody the basics, is the fact that there's so many of you Iron Breakers out there that are willing to contribute even more to those videos to give you more in-depth stuff that I tend to miss over, because these are not weapons that I play that much. I just go in there, I practice, see all of the moves that I like, and then you guys kind of like add in the finishing touches. It's a community effort to try and bring as many people into Monster Hunter as possible. But anyway, I'm already going like on tangents and whatnot. I appreciate you guys, is what I'm getting at. Let's start by talking about the weapon that I'm using in this particular build. And the build is independent of the weapon, so you don't need this specific weapon. But I would advise you guys to try and get Insect Glaives that have a decent amount of raw and just a little bit of element, or even a lot of element. But basically, you can put in whatever Insect Glaive you want. Unless your Insect Glaive has bad sharpness or something like that, then you might have to make up for it. But in this case, I feel like the sharpness on this weapon is more than reasonable. So we're looking at the Despot's Twin Bolt, which is Zinogre's Insect Glaive. And the reason why I crafted this one specifically is because I just like high Kinsect level. Not like it makes a massive amount of difference, but the higher the Kinsect level, the better this is going to work out, because you are still getting a decent chunk of damage from the Kinsect. So that's always good. And you got a lot of raw damage, you got blue sharpness. Even though it's not an impressive amount of blue sharpness, you got a reasonable amount of thunder, and you still have 2 tier 1 slots. So overall, pretty good, in my opinion. I think it might actually be one of the better Insect Glaives, but I'm not an Insect Glaive specialist, so whatever. You guys let me know what you think about Zinogre's Insect Glaive. I think it's pretty good. In terms of the Rampage slots, we're going to be going for Attack Boost 2. And this goes in line with something that I've talked about in the podcast with Gadget, which is I just feel like Elemental, unfortunately, again, in Rise, doesn't really feel as powerful as I would like. It always feels like Elemental is playing second fiddle to crit meta. But, you know, it is what it is, so that's what I ended up doing. Just go for Attack Boost 2. Now, let's take a look at the armor pieces that we got going here. And starting us off, we have the Kaiser Crown, because, you know, this is one of the best armor pieces right now if you're going for a crit build. Quite simply, it just has so much value. You're looking at 3 critical eye, 1 critical boost. I mean, it's pretty much a no-brainer. Then we're going to go for the Vike Mail, which just gives you a lot of slots for you to play around with so that you can fill in things that you might need. That's kind of like the purpose of it here. Then we go for the Kaiser Vambrace, again going for critical eye and critical boost, and still has a tier 2 slot, which really good value for that particular item right there. Then we got the Angicoil, which if you want to put any attack in your builds, this is hands down, as a version 2.0, still the most valuable attack boost piece in the whole game. So it's kind of like a no-brainer. Then on the Greaves, we're looking at the Ingot Greaves, which are going to bring us another 2 attack boost, as well as 2 points in critical eye, which is really good. Then when it comes to the Charm, I'm using a Charm that just has 2 weakness exploit and a tier 1 slot. So, you know, if you have a 2 weakness exploit charm, which I think at this point probably most people will have one, that's all you really need. You don't even need the slot because you can basically change some of the stuff around in the build to make up for the fact that it might not have that slot, so it's not really a big deal. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of wiggle room in here when it comes to tier 1 slots, so it's not really a big deal if your charm does not have a slot. Now, let's talk about decorations. And when it comes to decorations on the weapon itself, we're going to be putting 2 bolt jewels in there. And like I said, the weapon is interchangeable. So if you don't have Despot's Twin Bolt and the weapon, if you're using it with a different weapon and the weapon that you have does not have 2 slots, don't worry about it. Just have less bolt jewels. The bolt jewels are just kind of like filler in here. So it's not really a big deal. Then on the Kaiser Crown, another bolt jewel. On the Vike Mail, we got Tenderizer and Critical and another bolt jewel. This basically maxes out our weakness exploit as well as our critical boost. Then on the Kaiser Vambraces, we're looking at Expert Jewel 2. On the Anjanath Coil, we got an attack jewel. And this attack jewel is also kind of filler. If you want to put something else in here, feel free to. But I was just like, whatever, I'll just put another attack and we'll get a little bit more attack. It's not a big deal. Then we got a Grinder Jewel and another Bolt Jewel, and then another Grinder. The important thing with tier 1 slots here is getting those Grinder decos because, you know, you don't want to be stuck sharpening for too long, and there is the possibility that the sharpness in here is reasonable, but it's not like God tier, and we're not taking anything to deal with sharpness loss. So having the 3 grinders just helps out. So that's the more important thing. And then whatever is left with tier 1 slots, then you can fill it up with bolt. And you guys are like, Rurikhan, aren't you going to use any friggin' brace decos? You don't need brace decos with Insect Glaive. That's the beauty of it. You don't need brace decos, you don't need earplugs. Insect Glaive is a friggin' beast, okay, when it comes to that stuff. Really, really good. And then, if we look at the finalized skill here, you're looking at Critical Eye level 7, Attack Boost level 5, Thunder Attack level 5, which, like I said, not really a big deal, but also helps out because the Kinsect that we're using actually gets the bonus damage from your weapon as well. So he will deal thunder damage on top of his regular damage. So this is a particularly good build for fighting against monsters that are weak to thunder, which is why I said you should swap this to your respective element. But at the end of the day, the more important thing is raw, because we are going for a raw damage build, as you can see there with the critical exploit, with weakness exploit. They also have speed sharpening. We have 1 tier of Teostra Blessing that comes from the Kaiser Vambraces, but it is not that important. We're not really using Blast or anything. My initial build had Blast, but I ended up not liking it as much as I liked this one. So, you know, it is what it is. I think this is a pretty solid build, and like I said, it's kind of like an all-rounder. You can, technically speaking, use this for just about any weapon, which I think is a good thing. Now, in terms of the Kinsect that I'm using with this build, you're looking at Monarch Alucanid. Why? Because it is the Severing Assist type. You guys know I've said in my Insect Glaive guide, I like the assist types. I particularly like the assist types that are attack because they have more damage when you actually attack with them, so they follow through their attacks and add additional damage on top of it. And the reason I'm using the Severing one is because you guys told me that the Severing one brings the additional elemental damage onto the fight as well, and I think that's pretty cool. Naturally, you can swap it if you don't really care that much about that. You can go for the Carnage Beetle, or you can really take any Kinsect that you want, because this style is not particularly dependent on any one Kinsect. I just opted to go with the Monarch Alucanid, but you guys can feel free to do whatever you want to do. Now, in the video that you're watching, I'm using Leaping Slash, Tornado Slash, and Diving Wyvern, because, like I said, I'm just kind of used to these moves from World, and they just feel much more natural to me than using the other ones. But to be fair, I think that the Tetraseal Slash might actually be really good with this build as well, and the Advancing Ground Slash as well. So these two you can swap all you want, and even the Diving Wyvern you can swap if you want. So this build really is independent of switch skills as well. So just pick whichever ones you like most. It's not really a big deal. But anyways, that is my Insect Glaive build. Let me know what you guys think about it. I'm going to be updating some other builds. I have a pretty cool Sword and Shield build coming up for you guys. Maybe even 2 Sword and Shield builds, because I've been working on 2 different Sword and Shield builds. Unfortunately, not really Elemental, because it's just, I want to do more Elemental things, but it almost feels like you're getting punished for choosing the Elemental playstyle. So I'm just like, whatever. I'll just play things that are fun and we'll figure it out from there. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section down below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe, subscribe, bell notification icon, all of that jazz, and peace out.